Okay, what I want to do is make another image composite. And while I'm doing the image composite, I want to bring to your attention another palette. As I said before, we're going to be adding additional palettes as we go along. And this palette is the history palette. Go to Window and choose History. Here's my history palette. I'm going to pull it loose and stack it over here. So what exactly is the history palette? The history palette is a visual recording of the edits that you make to your document. So it's the same as every time you make an entry to your document and you go up to edit and you choose undo, you're undoing a list of edits that have been made. Here in the history palette, that list of edits are shown. And I can step backwards through them. So some people like having that history palette open. And then there are some other things you can do with it, like painting with the history brush. So the history palette is session specific and it's canvas specific. So when you close the canvas that you're working on, the history goes away. So it's only for the duration of the time you're working in that document at the time. So I'm going to make a target canvas that's custom. I'm going to go to File, New. And I want to work at a lower resolution. And the reason why is because these images are small and I'm going to be working at a web. So I'm going to create a document that's 1024 in pixels. I'm working in pixels by 768. So it's a small canvas by today's standards. And I want to work at a resolution of 75 DPI. So that means that we're working for web, on screen, or video. I'm going to work in RGB color. I'm going to make the background white, and I'm going to click create. So I've made my canvas. So here's my artboard. Okay. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these images to the canvas, and I want you to look at the history palette as I work. So this canvas, this history board, right? Let's go and let's grab these flowers. Let's say I want to start with these. Let's put those in the background. So I'm going to choose select. I'm going to choose all. Let's zoom up a little bit, Control+. I'm going to go to edit and choose copy. I'm going to click on my target canvas, choose edit and paste. And what I'm going to do, let's hit Control or Command and zoom up a little bit, move the tools over a little bit, come out of the way. Let's free transform this up. And I'm going to hit edit, choose free transform. And I'm going to put the link button on. So I'm scaling it proportionately, and I'm going to scale it up to fit. And I'm just going to scale it until it fits over the canvas. There we go. It looks pretty good. I'm going to position it. Let's add in another element. Let's go to the next canvas after this one. And let's grab these flowers. So I'm going to select all, edit, copy, go to my target canvas. And you'll see here are all the steps that I've done so far. New, I had an untitled canvas, new, paste, free transform, move, edit, paste. Just listed down here is paste. Now I'm going to grab the move tool. It shows that I've moved it. I'm going to choose free transform. I'm going to scale this down. I'm going to unlink it, and I'm going to scale it disproportionately. Something like that. Let's click the commit button, and we'll move it down towards the bottom here. Okay, let's look at that. All right, let's add in another element. Let's go over and grab the lightning. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the background and make it look like there's something going on with the sky. So I'm going to go to select all, edit, copy. Notice that it's showing me the history for this palette, but the only entries are open in select canvas. Go to my target canvas, and I want to see my layers. I'm going to drag these free. So I've got my history palette and my layers next to each other. And I want this to go above the layer with the flowers. So I'm going to choose edit and paste. And I'm going to grab the edit free transform tool. And I'm going to scale that up like so. And then I'm going to click the commit button, and I'm going to use a blending mode to blend that in. There you go. I'm going to use screen. So that's applied to that layer. And then I'm going to grab the opacity and just drag that down. All right. Now look at my history. Okay. I'm going to go and grab my fellow here. Let's zoom in. And I'm going to grab him. I'm going to use my object selection tool and trap select the gentleman here. And it did a pretty good job of snapping onto him. All right, I could quibble over the hair, but I'm going to take the selection as it is. I'm going to go to edit and choose copy. I'm going to go to my untitled canvas, click on the top layer, choose edit and paste. And so his hat's kind of cut up a little bit. Let's move him over to the right here. And we'll put him right there like that. And I could fill in the top of his hat with a solid fill. Let me show you this. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure that layer is selected. I'm going to zoom in here. I'm going to grab my lasso tool. I'm going to find black. I'm going to grab let's grab our eyedropper. There's my eyedropper. I'm going to sample that color. I'm going to grab my lasso tool. I'm going to make sure that layer is selected, and I'm going to fake the top of it. Let's use the polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to fake the top of his hat. And then I want to fill it. So I'll just go to edit and choose fill. And I'm filling with that foreground color. And select deselect. And I'm going to step backwards. And that looks pretty good. So here's our composite, right? And we use some new techniques, and we've used some techniques that we already had gone over. And I want you to look at the history palette. So the cool thing about this history palette is that I can step backwards through my document by using Command or Control Z, undo, 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 undo. I can also use the history palette to step backwards and forwards through my document, and each of the edits that have been made to the document are listed in here. Okay. So I can go back to when I first started. I can go back to when the canvas was empty. I can go back to any of these stages. And the cool thing is that that history palette lists the actual changes that have been made to the document. Okay. So you can use the undo command, Control or Command Z, or you can use the history palette. And either one of those are valid methods for design. Now, in addition to that, there's another use for the history palette, which is to make a snapshot. So let's say I work up to this point and I like my image and I want to go off into a different direction. I can come up and I can hit New Snapshot. I give the snapshot a name, and you'll see that it's listed here. So what I can do is, instead of starting from this empty document, I can start from the snapshot and continue working, right? In addition to that, I can create a new document from that snapshot, right? So here's the original document, and then I tap that button and say, new document from the snapshot. Now, what I've done here is I've taken that document and dropped it into a new canvas. So the idea is that there's different ways of diverging as I work. And so I can use the image duplicate command, or I can come up and I can create a snapshot. And the snapshot is exactly that, a snapshot of your image as it's being created. Here's the original one with its history. And here's the snapshot. And then I made a snapshot of the document after I've made so many modifications, and I was able to export that into a separate document. And I could work from here in my history.